This bulletin proudly brought to you in association with Alex Campbell's Menswear.
Kia ora, good evening. Welcome to the South Today. I'm Daryl Baser. Things are changing for New Zealand as this global pandemic continues to spread, and the South Today isn't immune to the issues facing the nation as we all band together to stop the spread of COVID-19. We at Allied Press thank you for your viewership and understanding at this time as New Zealand joins the rest of the world in doing everything possible to reduce the impacts of this deadly virus. At this afternoon's media announcement, the Prime Minister said sadly another person has succumbed to COVID-19 as the country prepares to go to Alert Level 3. But she says we're not there yet.
New Zealand is still at Alert Level 4. While I know there will be things we're all looking forward to under Alert Level 3, we must not risk the gains that we have made or that many New Zealanders have made sacrifices for over the last 4 weeks. Police have told me that while 99.9% of us are respecting the measures put in place, there are still some who are choosing to flout the rules, and I have the numbers on that for you. As at 6 p.m. yesterday, there had been 4,128 breaches of the CDM and Health Acts, 433 prosecutions, 3,580 official warnings, 115 youth referrals. More than 5,600 reassurance patrols at essential businesses and crime prevention patrols in neighbourhoods and business districts have been carried out in just the past 2 days. Each and every one of these people involved in breaches risks undoing the work of others. So again, I say, please do not travel unnecessarily or gather. Police will be conducting checkpoints and they will be enforcing the rules, and they do that to keep all of us safe.
And stay tuned to Channel 39 to see today's full announcement. During the relative quiet of the country being in lockdown due to COVID-19, Otago Daily Times head of video news Tim Miller investigates a citizen science project which has people looking to the skies.
As New Zealanders hunkered down at home, the country's silent and empty city streets have become a paradise for our native birds, and for those humans who enjoy watching them. At the same time, one of the largest citizen science projects ever is taking place, and all you need to do to take part is have one of these. Bird watchers like Mary Thompson have been taking part in the New Zealand Bird Atlas project, which is a massive 5-year citizen science survey mapping the abundance and spread of bird species across New Zealand.
I'm a bird watcher, so I enjoy watching birds, and I don't just watch them, I count them and note what I've seen on a eBird app on my phone.
To take part, all people have to do is record the numbers of each and every bird seen or heard from a single point, like your backyard, for at least 5 minutes, or on a 1 kilometre walk. The eBird app can be downloaded for free onto a phone, or people can submit their surveys through the eBird website.
This is probably the largest nationwide bird survey that's ever happened. And of course we're interested in what's happening to native birds, so the fantails, tuis, bellbirds, silvereye, tomtit.
Thompson says you don't have to have any fancy equipment or travel any further than your own backyard to take part. And information collected from the survey will help inform bird conservation at both local and national levels for years to come.
Check out your birds in your backyard to start with, and this is a great time to do that because you're watching your birds and you might never have sat still in your back garden for 5 minutes before, and just check out what flies in, what flies out, count them, check out your app.
University of Otago student and accomplished birder Oscar Thomas has also been taking part in the survey and has noticed a massive increase in bird life on his daily walks around North Dunedin.
Since lockdown, it's been quite noticeable that a lot of the birds have become more confident. They've been venturing more into urban areas with less people around, less noise. I went for a walk through campus the other day and saw at least a dozen waka waka or New Zealand fantail just in one spot. Normally during university you'd see maybe 1 or 2, so that was really promising.
With most people confined to their homes for the next 3 weeks, and the increase in bird activity, Thomas says there's no better time to get into bird watching.
There's birds everywhere. If you go into your garden, you're going to see a bird. It's really worth just getting out there while you can. People have more time at home these days, and it's a good opportunity to sort of get to know what's in your own backyard. There's plenty of birds anywhere in New Zealand. You don't have to be in the bush or at the beach to see birds. The New Zealand Bird Atlas is a great way to sort of keep track of what you're doing and contribute to a really awesome citizen science scheme. So it's the biggest in New Zealand, happens every 20 years, and it's just a great way to sort of improve New Zealand's outlook on our native birds.
For more information on the New Zealand Bird Atlas survey, people can go to www.birdatlas.co.nz. In Dunedin, the South Today.
With only essential services open during the COVID-19 lockdown, the brand new facilities at the Dunedin Faculty of Dentistry are still taking patients. The school's clinical director, Dr. Don Swass, says services are open thanks to a team of workers who've chosen to be there. G'day Dr. Swass, thank you for your time. So what's currently happening at dental school?
Well, we've pretty much just got a skeleton staff running at the school, no student activity, and only operating on the first floor of the school, what we call our primary care or emergency care environment.
Now I understand some of you and your staff are still working through the pandemic. What's prompted that?
That's right. Well, unfortunately, teeth don't know not to hurt. People get toothache, they have emergencies. So we're responding in a way to provide support for dental emergencies. And with a lot of the dental practices in the community closed because either the clinicians don't have PPE resources or they're not confident working in this environment, we're seeing a lot more patients who aren't normally patients of the dental school wanting to attend as well. So we're looking after basically the whole of Otago at the moment.
So that must be a fairly high demand area?
It is, but we've got some pretty strict rules around what we can do at the moment. So under level 4 and level 3, it's looking like for level 3 pretty much the same, that we can do no aerosol generating procedures. That means anything that will cause air disturbance, significant air disturbance. So that means we can't use a dental handpiece or the little triplex water squirter, air squirter thing that we use in the mouth. We can't use those. So non-aerosol procedures means that dentistry is pretty basic. It's like rolling back the clock 100 years, and all we can do is pain relief by way of medications, advice, dressings, simple dressings that we can put in by hand, or extractions. Practically that's not so popular because that means sometimes someone maybe needed a root canal therapy and that's not on the offing at the moment. So the tooth would need to be removed.
And so the dentistry profession is very close contact. How are you and the staff staying safe?
Well, it's a really good point. We're actually in a very, very high risk space. We're dealing with an airborne virus, respiratory virus, and we're working over that breathing cavity. So it is high risk for us. So all our staff are wearing PPE, additional PPE over what we would have prior to COVID-19. So all our staff wear face shields, full face shields that provide quite a significant spatter protection. And then they're wearing double masks. So they're wearing an N95 mask, which has the virus protection, underneath a standard level 2 surgical mask. And they change the surgical mask between patients, and they can wear the N95 mask for more than one patient as long as it's not soiled. And then they're wearing a gown, a long sleeve disposable gown as well. But that's only for treating low-risk patients in this space. So our school's not suitable for treating high-risk patients. The design of the building isn't. So for high-risk patients, we've got a mobile dental unit from the Southern DHB hooked into the building, plugged in outside the building, and we've set that up as our high-risk treatment environment. In fact, we've plastic lined the surgeries on the mobile unit so that we can basically totally disinfect the unit between patients. It looks like a giant P-Lab actually with all the plastic wrap that we've done.
Nice, nice levity. Well put. Who's eligible for treatment? So basically, is it emergencies only, or is anyone just, you're doing walk-in clients, or how do people get to be?
Okay, so it's strictly emergency only for anyone though, anyone with dental needs. We're not screening on the basis of income or any form of other assessment. It's appointment only. So if patients need treatment, they're kindly asked to ring 479 8889, which is the direct dial into the dental school, and they will first speak with an administrator who will take their details, and then that will be forwarded on to one of our clinicians, and a clinician will then phone the patient and screen the patient for their COVID risk, whether they have infection or otherwise. And if at that stage the clinician feels that it's appropriate to see the patient, then we'll organise an appointment, usually the same day. But about slightly more than 3/4 of the patients that are being triaged or screened in this way are not being seen clinically because the procedures they need, it's not appropriate to provide under the strict conditions we have. So there's an awful lot of prescriptions getting written, and people dealing with toothaches and infection through courses of antibiotics and pain relief.
Indeed. And so if someone, so you said about the high-risk unit, people being treated outside in mobile dental. If someone's in the high risk possibly has COVID, will they actually, if someone has COVID, can they be treated?
Ideally, we prefer not, but if you've got raging toothache, you might need something done. So the answer is yes. We haven't yet had to do that, though, in Dunedin. So far, all of the patients presenting have been what we would consider low risk. And our screening, part of the screening is to ask the patients whether they've had any signs or symptoms of any kind of viral infection. And the threshold for concern is literally any symptom. So that's become a lot more relaxed than earlier on when COVID first landed on the scene, when we were talking only about people who also had to have travelled or been in contact with someone. Now we're saying actually not even bothered about the travel aspect, but just whether someone has symptoms. And if they've got symptoms, we're considering them high risk. So far, the patients we've seen, and we're seeing roughly 12 patients on average a day and screening 60, 70 patients a day. None of them have been high risk. And I think what the government's been doing to contain this disease in New Zealand, clearly it seems to be working. Yeah.
In an open market, dental work can cost quite a bit. I remember seeing colleagues with thousands of dollars worth of bills. What costs are involved if people come and see you?
Okay, so we have a government DHB subsidy for the telephone triaging. So the telephone triaging doesn't cost the patient at all. So if the only thing is a telephone consult, no charge. And our fees for the emergency treatment that might be provided in the clinic are our usual normal faculty fees, which tend to be significantly cheaper than private practice. Yeah.
I understand, please correct me if I'm wrong, but I understand some of your team are volunteering to do this?
Well, they're all paid, so they're all paid employees of the university. But given the risk space that we're in, we felt that it wasn't something that we could force all our staff to do this. Some people are immunocompromised or supporting someone who's immunocompromised, and it's not fair to put them on the front line and not appropriate either. And we want people who are reasonably comfortable in their own skin in the space, that because it's quite something to be providing dentistry under these conditions. It's an extra layer of complexity. So we don't want people freaking out. So hence, yes, we've asked for volunteers. We haven't had a shortage of them actually. One thing that you'll find with dentists, we seem to be wired towards helping people. So it's what we want to do. And I think more than anything, most of the practitioners feel a bit frustrated that they can't do more, that they can't do things for patients. Yeah.
So we're due to go to level 3 next week. What will change for you under level 3 and then level 2?
Okay, so under level 3, potentially not a lot. The actual guidelines for level 3 as far as dentistry goes haven't been finalised. We're expecting that to come out sometime this week. But the way the university staff see this risk from a dental point of view, we wouldn't see much happening beyond what we've been doing at level 4. So in other words, just emergency pain relief under non-aerosol conditions.
Brilliant. I really appreciate your time today. Thanks very much for joining us. It's been very informative. Thank you.
Pleasure.
The COVID-19 pandemic has impacted every aspect of New Zealand's society, including the way we say our last goodbyes to loved ones. Under level 4 lockdown conditions, funerals have only been shared on video, with family members not allowed to attend. But that's set to change as the alert level drops to level 3 next week. Under COVID-19 alert level 4, funeral services have been performed to empty rooms. Managing Director at Gillian's, Keith Gillian, says it's made sombre occasions even quieter, which has been tough on families.
Decision making becomes difficult because what we used to do as our pattern from the time of death has now been totally replaced with something else, and we don't know what it is. So we've only just starting to get to the stage now that 3 weeks into level 4, people are actually starting to identify the components that they can actually put together to have a funeral and say farewell, and do it with meaning.
Keith Gillian says while it's been highly challenging for friends and family of those who have passed on, it's also meant those in the industry have had to adapt to changes quickly.
I suppose the best description is I would say is a moving feast. Is that we tend to have to make plans on the move as the rules change, as the interpretations of the rules change, and how we deal with people has had to change so that we're doing everything remotely now with no interpersonal communication, which for funeral directors is actually quite tough because they like looking after people, and that contact creates those important things that make it work.
He says while the country is in lockdown, with people in their own bubbles, funeral directors like himself are having to police the conditions to grieving family members, and it's meant a lot of learning for his team.
We end up having to work our systems differently to be able to communicate with us with people and come up with ways of doing things that can move ahead, and we've actually had to reskill ourselves both in communication and in technology on how we can actually create something that people can carry away, because with funerals there's certain components that create the touch points, and those touch points are seeing a casket, addressing a casket, moving a casket, a vehicle moving away. There's little bits and pieces that form meaning because they exist. And it doesn't matter which culture they are or which religion they are, each one has got its own little bits that people understand and are used to, the patterns they're used to going through to say goodbye. Well, those patterns now don't exist temporarily. So we are only just coming to grips with what we can potentially do to say goodbye to someone.
Gillian says where the rules around social distancing are slightly more relaxed outside, services in cemeteries are going ahead, while maintaining the safety of all of those attending, family, staff and cemetery workers.
With the new regulations that were changed was we can have graveside, a small graveside with the isolation bubble. Once again, we're recording those, and they've been in some cases actually live streamed to family members through their own devices, so that they can actually get that moment of farewell and something to hold on to. But even those have got different constructs around them now, because we've got social distancing and we've got to be looking after the cemetery staff and looking after them, and so that it doesn't quite have the same look as it would pre-COVID.
Around the world, virtual funerals are becoming a common occurrence as world leaders aim to stop the spread of COVID-19. Gillian says a virtual funeral is filmed to be given to family and friends. A celebrant or funeral director will say a few words over a casket, which is then loaded into a hearse, and so on, depending on the family's wishes. In Dunedin, the South Today. Time now for a look at the weather.
Tonight's weather proudly brought to you by Mole Map.
Beginning with the situation, a weakening cold front decays over the region tomorrow, with a brief southwesterly change keeping showers on the west and south coasts. In the southern towns, the Catlins, Balclutha, Lumsden and Gore all have moderate southwesterlies, showers clearing and 14-degree highs. Heading over to the central lakes, Wanaka and Queenstown are heading for moderate northwesterlies, cloudy skies and 16 degrees. Alexandra is one warmer on 17, while Te Anau can expect fresh northwesterlies, showers clearing and 13 degrees. In the northern towns, Timaru and Oamaru are due for light northeasterlies and some cloud. Timaru aims for 17 and Oamaru 16 degrees. While inland, Twizel and Omarama are both in line for light winds and high cloud with 17 degrees. In Dunedin, it'll be fine and cold tonight with an overnight low of 10 degrees. Should expect high cloud and northerly winds tomorrow morning, but a southerly change is set to hit during the afternoon. Expect a high of 15 and a low of 9. It'll be mostly cloudy and cool on Friday with moderate northeasterlies and a high of 14 and a low of 8 degrees. Heading to Invercargill, cloud increases tonight with showers developing by dawn. You should have an overnight low of 10 degrees. It'll be cloudy tomorrow with showers clearing and fresh, cool southwesterlies decreasing, a high of 13 and a low of 9 degrees. There'll be sunny periods at first on Friday, but cloud increases and westerly winds freshen. Expect a high of 14 and a low of 11. And that's all from the South Today team for this Wednesday. For the latest news from the southern region, head online to odt.co.nz and follow Channel 39 on Facebook and YouTube. And stay tuned to Channel 39 for the latest COVID-19 updates from the government. Stay calm during the pandemic, and as the Prime Minister says, be kind. Ka kite a popo. See you tomorrow.
This bulletin proudly brought to you in association with Alex Campbell's Menswear.
Supporting local content so you can see more of New Zealand on air.